Let's get some more on the coronavirus, and we'll go down to the state of emergency, down to Victoria. Joining us from Melbourne is the opposition police spokesperson, David Southwick. Thanks for joining us again, David.
Pleasure, Chris.
When we look at the quarantine bungling, the inquiry is ongoing. We now know that security guards will be called before that inquiry to explain exactly what they knew, what they were told, what their training levels were. That's a reasonable level of transparency, isn't it?
Well, we've heard today already that 99% from that inquiry, 99% of the second wave has been pointed back to the hotel quarantine. So there's no question about that at the moment. In terms of transparency, as you suggested, we've actually asked as the opposition whether we could front the inquiry, and we've been locked out of that. We want to get questions to, and we want to ensure that there is information put forward to the inquiry. So far, we haven't been given that opportunity either. But at the end of the day, we want answers. The public need answers. They deserve answers. And this is Daniel Andrews' complete stuff-up. The Premier has lied. He's lied to Parliament. He's lied to the public in terms of whether the ADF were called in for managing of the hotel quarantine bungle. And I think people have had enough. They need to know, why has this been messed up? What is the Premier hiding? Yeah,
well, there's no argument about the ADF. You just have to go to the Premier's own press release. He said that they were involved at the start, and then he's changed the tune afterwards. But another issue we've spoken to you about previously is the effect of the lockdowns and the coronavirus pandemic on the criminal justice system. You're worried about additional sentence reductions on prisoners because of this. Also, the shutdowns in the courts, of course, preventing people from fronting the courts. So what are the repercussions of this been so far?
Well, at the moment, we already know that there is some 800-900 people that are not in the prison system at the moment that would be in remand. They're out on bail. And, of course, in terms of what that does to people's community safety is of a real concern to us. The courts aren't operating at the moment, and that's unfortunately, that's the consequences. The Premier's running his own show, and we are really concerned. We're also concerned about the powers that the Premier is trying to enact. We have, as you know, Chris, state of emergency and state of disaster powers that have both been enacted. The Premier has said that he wants to extend those powers, the state of emergency powers, indefinitely. And this is a real concern because what effectively is happening is the Premier is writing himself a blank cheque to do as he pleases without any scrutiny. And I don't think anybody wants that. We need to ensure there is accountability with this Premier, a Premier that has lied to Parliament, has lied to the public, and now wants a blank cheque to do as he pleases. This is a real concern to all of us right now. We need to do the right thing. We need to get through the pandemic, but at the same time, we've got real concerns about this Premier effectively doing as he pleases without any accountability or scrutiny.
You also need to relax the restrictions and the lockdown as quickly as possible because there's social, economic implications, even in criminal justice, as you've just explained. The trouble is that Melbourne and Victoria were shut down. There's so many additional measures came on quite quickly that the experts can't tell which of those have been most effective. Given that the infection numbers are now going down so strongly, would you be calling on Daniel Andrews to lift the curfew first or stage 4 lockdowns? What measures need to come off first to try and improve the lives of Melburnians and Victorians?
Look, there is no question, Chris, Melburnians are doing it so tough at the moment. They really are. With an hour of exercise a day, we're being treated worse than most of our prisoners at the moment. They get more than that, as I've said. I think ultimately the decision needs to be made by health, not by the Premier. And what we've had is the Premier has led a lot of this decision-making, only then to be second-guessed and to be overturned in terms of clarification. There needs to be consistency, as I've said on many occasions. There is none of that. There needs to be clarity, which there is none of that. The Parliament is not operating at the moment, yet we're able to have Dan Murphy's open to be able to sell booze. I mean, how does that work in terms of the Parliament's not safe enough to operate, but we've got Dan Murphy's, as I say, that is. There's no consistency with all of this. There's got to be that. We need to restart people's lives as quickly as possible. Businesses have gone to the wall, as I've said. We need to work ways through with all of that. And I think the biggest issue, Chris, is we need a plan out of all of this. Yep. What does Victoria look like a month, 2 months, 6 months from now? If we don't have that plan, we're going to be, unfortunately, down in these puddles for a very, very long time.
Thanks so much for joining us, David. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
David Southwick there, the Victorian Shadow Police Minister.